So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, welcome to Jackson with Jackson number 45, Charles Darwin versus Charles Jackson. Even though actually we're not going to really talk that much about anything to do with anything that Charles Darwin would have known about, but that's okay. We don't have to. I'm here, of course, as usual, with Jackson Wheat. Say hello, Jackson.
It's me.
Yeah, it is.
Hello. I can put in a bunch of Charles Darwin facts if you so desire.
It's true, you could do that.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, so few things. First of all, we do have a super chat goal. So on Friday this month, or this last week, time is an illusion. Lunchtime doubly so. Anyway, last time it was a Friday, I was on Top Hats Off, and I started doing some architectural modeling. We did some columns, we made a dome, we did the interface between the dome and the columns, we made a general building shape. You know, we did a bunch of stuff like that.
I'm a big fan of domes.
Yes, well, domes are one of the better of the architectural things that exist. I didn't really have a good noun, I'm sorry about that.
It is a thing, a stuff, Lori.
Yeah.
Things.
Yeah. And, so, I have since made a bunch of progress on it in the background over, weekends and even a little bit today. If we can get 30 of the Teal Super Chats within the next, how long we got left? Hour and 52 minutes. I will show you guys an update on that, how that's going. Otherwise, it's going to have to stay under wraps for quite a while. Not even coming back on Friday. So, if you want to see that, or if you just didn't see the stream on Friday and you want to see how my art's doing, that is a way to do it. And also, if we get there, then Jackson has promised not to sing My Heart Will Go On.
Oh.
So, just putting that out there. And, yeah, so, if you want to not hear Jackson Wheat sing My Heart Will Go On, that's a good way to do it. Anyway, Jackson, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Okay.
It's been a not busy day.
Okay.
Yeah. I've just been reading.
Awesome.
So that's fine. Mm-hmm.
I do like reading. I did some script editing. I did a little bit of art. I did some looking for the video that we're watching today, because I forgot to look for one up until early this morning. And I was like, oh no, I should probably find a video for today. So today we have a new video from Charles Jackson in which he is going to talk to us about junk DNA for over an hour. Now, we're not going to watch over an hour today. We're probably going to get through maybe 10, 15 minutes of it max. But, yeah. Let's see. Zerlon says, your Blender work is sorcery. I still fail about and make next to no progress with it. Well, I'll say this. I've been using Blender for about a decade now. So, I should be okay at it at the very least, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was learning Blender back when there was the first version of the donut tutorial. Not the current fancy version. So. Icarus says, you're talking junk DNA and did not invite Dr. Dan. Dr. Dan and I are already planning other collaboration. And, yeah. So. Don't you worry. Dr. Dan and I will be, we'll be back together on air. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Possibly twice. Or maybe even more.
Yeah. We were all recently together in a show on his channel.
Yeah.
We did the trivia show.
Yeah. And who won that? Who's the reigning champion of trivia? Was it
I believe it was you. I believe you won.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I didn't dominate or anything, right?
I don't remember what the scores were other than I lost tremendously. That's the only thing I remember.
I believe I was second to Erica, and I had about twice as many points.
Okay.
It was a little bit of a slaughter. But that's okay. It was all in good fun. And to be fair, I have not lorded it over y'all ever since.
I mean, you could. There's nothing stopping
And
you.
yet I didn't. My own
Yeah.
decency is stopping me. All right. Sapphire Science Nimby's Light for $5 says, near, far, wherever you are, I believe that the heart goes on. Once more, you open the door, and you're here in my heart, and my heart will go on and on. And Jackson, those are the lyrics that you might not have to sing if we get 29 more such super chats.
Oh boy.
Yeah. All right. Well, so this is one of the Tuesday shows, which means we do have the drinking rules. So I'm going to go over those real quick, and then we're going to dive into a brand new video. But before I get into the actual rules, I want to say, hey, if you want to play along, you can absolutely do that without drinking any alcohol. If you want to play along with water, tea, coffee, soda, juice, a vape pen, I don't care, right? You want to eat like a chip or a Pringle or something? I guess Pringles or chips, I don't know, a Cheez-It or something? Every time we take a drink, that's fine too. Or if you just want to enjoy the counter, or you just want to ignore it, all of those are absolutely fine. You do not have to drink to enjoy this show. If you do choose to play along and use an intoxicating substance, then I would urge you to 1, know your limits, 2, pace yourself, and 3, know that after consuming such substances, you should not go out, operate heavy machinery, drive a car, fly an airplane, or text your ex. Don't do it. Don't do it. And if you do any of these things, neither myself, the channel, nor Jackson take any liability or responsibility for anything that you do to injure yourself or others or other people's property or your own property or anything like that. That is all on you. You have been warned. Play at your own risk. Zero Long for $5 says, Phase 1, Darwin equals science. Phase 3, profit. What was Phase 2 again? Angie is a sack of dumb support. Take a drink. All right, so what are the rules? Well, first of all, as you just saw, Zero Long triggered a drink trigger, and that is because anytime anyone super chats or membership milestone chats anything to the effect that Answers in Genesis are a bag of dicks, we will take a drink for that. Now, this stretches back to several years ago when they decided to go super aggressive, fraudulently so, with their copyright claims here on YouTube. And it affected me. I think it affected you, Jackson, didn't it?
Strike?
No, claims.
Oh, I mean,
Well, I don't know if it affected you, but I know it affected Erica. I know it affected Godless Engineer, Paul from Paulogia. I know it affected Vice Rhino. So, it was a whole bunch of people who got a bunch of their videos demonetized and had to fight every single one of those.
No, it wasn't. No, that didn't happen to me. No, that didn't happen.
Okay.
Not to me, anyway.
Well, it seemed to affect pretty much everyone but Jackson, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, and my favorite one was when they copyright claimed a video of mine that themselves, their footage that was also in my video was also fair use from a Hollywood movie. So, they were relying on fair use, just like I was in their own video. So that was fun. So as a result, now, whenever anyone super chats or membership milestone chats that they're a bag of dicks, we take a drink. We also have an emoji just for that, in case you don't want to type it out. You do have to be a little clever, because if you just type that out in English, YouTube will censor it. So they don't censor most other languages, apparently, just English. Apparently, Anglophones are, I don't know, just can't handle swear words. Anyway, we won't take a drink if Dr. Charles Jackson says something that's so stupid we just kind of have to take a drink as sort of brain coolant. We will also take a drink if Charles Jackson tells a joke that doesn't land or a story that didn't happen. Now, when it comes to the stories, it's going to be a judgment call. But if it feels like afterwards he should have added and then everyone clapped, or if it seems like something that should have happened on r/that happened, yeah, we're going to take a drink for it. He tells a fair few stories that we're like, is that a true story? If it is, it's a big embellishment. So we'll all take a drink if Dr. Charles Jackson gets something right, but it can't just be something he's reading off of a slide or other source, right? It actually has to be an idea in his brain that goes down to his vocal apparatus, and then we hear it, and it is in fact correct. Take a drink for if he gets something right. We do get a little bit generous about that towards the end, usually because we're thirsty. It's okay. We'll also take a drink if Dr. Charles Jackson confuses what we can know from just the skeleton of Lucy, the Australopithecus afarensis, with what we can know about any wider taxon to which she belongs on the basis of other skeletons in that same taxon. So, for instance, if he says, well, we don't know if Lucy could have walked upright because we don't have her feet. Well, we have the feet of other Australopithecus, yeah, she definitely could have, because they had inline big toes and 3 arches in the foot and all the anatomy necessary for upright walking. So that's called ad hominid. We only get 1 of those per stream. If Charles Jackson cites a source and we check the source, and not only does the source fail to back him up, but it actually contradicts him actively, we call that a Trojan source, and we take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink if either Jackson or I can successfully predict where Charles Jackson is going to go next when it's not very obvious. We'll also take a drink if he mentions that German party that was sort of a, National Socialist German workers type kind of a deal. If he mentions them, we'll take a drink for that. And it does not have to be that he has to, become an example of Godwin's law, because he doesn't have to call anyone or compare anyone to them. He just has to mention them. So it's a little bit broader than Godwin's law. We'll also take a drink if anyone gifts memberships. So if you gift 5 memberships, we take 5 drinks. If you gift 20, we take 20. If you gift more than 30, I'm just going to finish this particular rum and cola and go get a new one. I'm not going to sit there and count out that many. I'm just going to down it. We're going to go get more. I have 3 more shots worth of rum, so I don't expect us to have to run out unless we get a lot of memberships, which, by the way, if we do get enough memberships for a new emoji, the next emoji is going to be the Mudkip Davis. So, the head of Kip Davis in the shape of a Mudkip. So, that could be fun. I don't know what I would do for a Jackson emoji. I guess just a whale penis.
Aww.
What? That's what, one of your most famous videos is
the
about.
The consequences of my own actions.
Yeah. You didn't have to make one of the best videos about whale penises to have ever existed on the internet.
I guess that is if that is my legacy, then, I suppose it's better than nothing.
You know what, Borgum, for you, I will take a drink for Ozzy Osbourne. Rest in peace, Ozzy. All right, we've got another, super chat from Lieutenant Matt the Navigator, who says, for $5, is there anything more evangelical than thinking laws or ethical norms that apply to others don't apply to them? Yeah. Although, to be fair, a lot of people think that way. Oh, and there's Jessica, the Transmetal Alchemist, just gifted a Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you very much, and we will take a drink for that. So we'll also take a drink for every super chat or membership milestone chat that contains one of the kaiju emojis. That's Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah. You do have to be a channel member to get those, but once you become a channel member, you have those for as long as you're a channel member, and you can put them in just regular chat or super chats or membership milestone chats. We will also take a drink if Godzilla or Mothra come by audibly, which is a bit of a semi-random trigger that can happen here and there. And then, let's see, what am I missing? I think that's it. Oh, no, if I screw up. So if I screw up the production, so for instance, if I forget to unmute someone, or I switch the wrong scene, or something like that, then that is a Dapper Professional. We take a drink for that. If, however, it is actually, YouTube crashing, or OBS doesn't want to play a video or something like that, that's not a human error, or I guess a dinosaur error in my case. That's technology failure. That's the machine spirit. When the machine spirit messes up, we don't take a Dapper Professional drink. All right, Jackson, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, let's go. We have a whole new video about junk DNA. That's deoxyribonucleic acid.
Junk DNA is a natural selection predicament for the evolutionist, and that's
a weird way to put that, because I don't see what the predicament could possibly be, given that junk DNA is a prediction of evolutionary biology.
I guess my guess is his argument would be, or this is my prediction for what his argument is about to be, is he's going to say, well, evolutionists say that natural selection is all about making things more efficient, and junk DNA is this paragon example of inefficiency. So it's a paradox, except here's the thing, that's not true. That's when you look at it from a population genetics standpoint, the strength of natural selection increases with population size, right? So if you have a really, really big population, the natural selection is going to be acting on like even just a few nucleotides, right? That's why bacteria and archaeans tend not to have much in the way of like junk DNA or pseudogenes, things like that. They can, it's just not very often.
Right.
Whereas eukaryotes have, by comparison, much, much, much smaller populations, and therefore we have the capacity for much more baroque genomes that are, in which the vast majority of it is junk, because natural selection simply can't see most of the junk that accumulates, and it's not harmful anyway. So there's no selective pressure for it to be taken out. So there you go.
Yeah.
Video done.
All right, everybody. Thanks. No, actually, I got to say, you said Baroque, and I've recently, and this isn't anything you could have possibly known, but I recently got really tired of that word.
I'm sorry, Dapper.
I was listening to an audiobook, The Infinite and the Divine, and it seemed like virtually every inanimate object in that book was at some point described as Baroque. And it's like, dude, if you call everything Baroque, it stops meaning anything. Stop calling everything Baroque.
Okay, I will take it out of my lexicon then.
No, don't do that. That's not fair. Lieutenant Math the Navigator for $5 says, what level... what level do we have to be to get Mudkip to evolve to a Marstomp? I have no clue. I don't even know what the answer to that would be in terms of the Pokemon games, because I mostly stopped playing mainline Pokemon games after like Gen 2. That's not entirely accurate. I did play one or two of the later gen games, but like, yeah, I have not kept up well with Pokemon lore or which Pokemons are which, and like I still repeatedly see ones that I'm like, I guess that's a Pokemon, but I couldn't possibly name it. So sorry about that. I do know Gen 1 fairly well. I know a fair bit from Gen 2, but my knowledge just drops off a cliff after that. So, yeah. Anyway, here we go.
What we're talking about tonight, junk DNA. And well, first, it's very hard to talk about junk anything until you talk about before we had the technology for them to even suggest junk DNA.
So before the 1950s, because if I remember correctly, the term junk DNA first enters the literature in the 50s, and it's not until about 1972 that it gets defined officially. But it was being used informally before that, with about the same meaning as it was given officially in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I mean it was the existence of junk DNA, much like the chromosome 2 fusion, was predicted given what we knew about genetics, right? And we knew, like, by figuring out that, hey, humans have this many genes, our genome is this long, and by taking some organisms who had very much smaller genomes and things like that we could more easily sequence, researchers were like, hey, if the average length of, or if in general, I guess, proteins tend to be coded for by sequences that are such and such long, well, that would probably mean that we would need to have this many, genes in our genome, but that doesn't seem right. So probably a portion of it is not coding for anything. And hey, would you look at that? It was true.
Yeah.
It actually turned out to be way more true than we initially thought.
Yeah, it turns out there's a lot of junk DNA out there.
Yeah.
It's something like, pretty sure like it's a bit over 80% of the human genome is junk.
And I think that's being like generous.
Yeah, it's when I say it's over 80, it's probably a lot over.
Yeah.
What did the evolutionists do before then?
I don't even know what that question means.
We didn't know about DNA before then, I guess.
I mean, we knew about it as a substance. DNA was isolated in like 1870 something or something like that. But like we didn't,
I guess I'd say we didn't know it was like the molecule of inheritance and all that stuff.
Yeah, like that was
1920s, I think.
Something like that,
1930s. Yeah.
I guess what people did before we knew about junk DNA was watch Genesis Paradise Lost. That doesn't seem right. I'm pretty sure that
The
movie
timeline's off here.
yeah. Unless this is a time traveling movie, like the movie itself time travels. Duck the Place of Hostilities Tuna Kits for $2 says Kit gains experience from stupidity. He sure does. That's how he levels up.
Many textbooks say the peppered moth industrial melanism in England is evolution. Well, if
I mean,
Yeah.
it is, right?
Yep. Yep.
Like-
That's true.
It's sort of like, look, it is evolution in the way that like X-Men is a comic book series. Is it all comic book series? Does it exhaust the entire category of comic book series? No, of course not. But it is a comic book series, and so if you want an example of a comic book series, and I point you to the various run of X-Men comics, I have successfully accomplished the task that you set for me. Now, if you come back to me like creationists do and say, well, that doesn't explain all of comic books ever, I'm like, all right, well, that's not what you asked for.
Yeah, and remember, guys, a while back, a number of videos back, we covered a video of his in which he just kind of does this over and over, but with regard to bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
He goes like nyelinase, or antibiotic resistance. Like, you think that's evolution?
Yes. Yeah. And no, it doesn't explain all of the things that are supposed to happen during evolution. It was never supposed to. My Unfinished Journey for $2.22 says, Hail Daps and Jax, and hail Junk DNA. Hail indeed. And then Joshua Geese for $5 says, Via Guptu 3, AIG is Baroque. The thing is, I don't actually hate that word. I'm just a little bit tired of it. Right? Like,
I'm sorry.
I'll get over it in a few days. I'll be fine. But I just recently finished The Infinite and Divine, which, by the way, I did overall quite enjoy. Because it's basically the story about two old men, one of whom steals something from the other, and then they just bicker and argue and fight about it. But the catch is that these two old men have like technology that can snuff out stars and warp the very fabric of reality. But also, one of them can quick save and quick load, and the other one has infinite lives. So like, it doesn't matter how much destructive capability they both have. Neither of them can actually win. So it was fun.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And by old men, I mean like several tens of millions of years old.
Yeah.
that's
As
all
old men are wont to be.
Yeah.
evolution is, I believe. The dark color
No, it's not all evolution is. And you know that, Charles Jackson. I do not believe that Charles Jackson has gone as far as it took for him to do the Genesis Paradise Lost video without ever having been told that, yes, that is evolution, and two, it's not all of evolution. I do not believe
It wasn't
that is
even all of evolution in Origin of Species.
Right.
Darwin discusses sexual selection.
Yep. I mean, he gets way more into it in Descent of Man, but yeah, it's in there in like prototype form in Origin of Species.
It's in the first book.
And in the
You
first
didn't
book,
read the first book.
he acknowledges that there needs to be sources of variety. He doesn't know what that source might be, but he knows it has to be there. So, yeah, it's not even all of evolution according to the first book on evolution that we have that is sort of ancestral to the modern idea.
Yep.
peppered moths actually were more camouflaged than the light-colored peppered moths. As a
Hey, that was
result,
true. Take a drink.
The birds could see them and eat them for lunch a lot easier. Natural selection means to pick or choose, to select from what is already there. Traits that were already there, genetic information that was already there.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Take a drink, everybody.
This process will never get you from copepod sort of things in the ocean turning into moths. It will never get you from monkeys turning into people. This process can't make one step in that.
Now, Jackson, he is right that natural selection cannot introduce new variation, right? So, is that it for evolution? Is evolution done now because natural selection can't give us new variation?
I would be willing to posit that there are, in fact, other mechanisms of evolution that introduce new genetic variation to the existing populations that natural selection can then act on.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, once again, what Charles Jackson is doing is basically pointing out that, like, if you just pop a piston on your table, it won't power a car. And that also, if you just set a bunch of gasoline on fire, it won't power a car. Therefore, there's no way that cars could ever be powered. And if you try to point out, well, like, what if you take the piston and put it into the engine, and then you ignite small bits of gasoline inside a combustion chamber connected to the piston? Nope. Doesn't want to talk about that. Just wants to talk about the fact that burning gasoline, pistons, each on their own, can't power a car. Okay, cool. Bitcores, who's been a member for 29 months, is at the annual level, says, it also means to pick and choose from traits that appear, Bad Jackson. Yes, right, the traits that appear. Because there's this thing called mutation. But then also there's an AIG's a bag of dicks emoji, and some disgusting pelagic tunicate emojis, which are just absolutely vile, but we'll take a drink anyway. Alright, here we go.
Natural selection may be able to explain the survival of the fittest, but it cannot explain the arrival of the fittest. How did we get moths in the first place is the question evolution claims to answer and can't and doesn't. Instead, they just go look at how the colors shifted. Before the magic of evolution, there were white moths.
I feel like I might get a copyright claim from all this music. I'm sorry. That's one of the only reasons I'm pausing right here, is to just break up the music. Because that's a lot of music. That's a lot of music in a row, and music is always.
And he's wrong.
Yeah, he's that too. But we kind of already covered why he's wrong.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Math Navigator for $5 says, but lightning gasoline can create a dumpster fire. True, and can therefore spontaneously generate a young Earth creationist argument. Yeah, that is true.
I hadn't considered that.
Yeah. In fact, I suspect that that's where they get a lot of their arguments. Is they just light a dumpster on fire. And then just check to see what it has inside of it afterwards. And then like there's like a crispy, charred to the bone like raccoon or a possum or something. And they're like, looks like intelligent design to me. You couldn't burn an opossum into a crisp without an intelligent designer to design the fire and the dumpster. And then I would say like, well, the dumpster, yes. That part, maybe. Creationists.
And black moths. After the magic of evolution, there were white moths and black moths. That would happen if Darwin was wrong. It doesn't.
No, actually, because the thing that it's supposed to show is natural selection, which Darwin proposed. You don't get to say that an example of the idea that Darwin proposed being true makes Darwin wrong. Does it demonstrate everything Darwin talked about? No, but it was never supposed to. Right? Like,
yeah.
I do not get how this is supposed to in any way indicate that Darwin is wrong. Osiris Baroque AIG, thank you. Thank you. Says, my creationist university started telling students that speciation is a part of microevolution, so they can still say macroevolution isn't a thing. And no, they don't have accreditation to teach biology. Well, first of all, good, they shouldn't have accreditation for that. But also, second, yeah, I wish that surprised me at all. It's gross, and it's a lie. Like, it's a blatant lie. But what are you going to do? And they could argue, like, well, I don't think it's a lie. I just want to use the word that way. Like, all right, cool. But when you just tell people that that's what the definition of microevolution is, you're lying. If you say, that's how I want to use the term, okay, fine, whatever.
Actually, Dapper, you know something I've never thought about with regard to speciation is like an example of or a mechanism of macroevolution is like species selection. I've never heard creationists talk about species selection before. I'm not sure if any of them know what it is.
I was going to say, to be fair, I don't hear many actual biologists talking about it much either, but...
That's true. Yeah, most of them... Yeah, it's I mean, it's such a minor thing that most of them are just kind of like, whatever. But I do wonder if they accept species selection, because that would be an instance of them accepting a mechanism of macroevolution.
True. Well, the thing is, they accept most of the virtually all, if not all, of the actual mechanisms of macroevolution. right?
That is true. Yeah.
In fact, they rely on macroevolutionary mechanisms in order to get diversity post-flood.
Yeah, that's true.
And they need it to happen real fast. Because remember, they don't have 4,000 years to get this diversity. They have more like 400 or 500 years. Because we happen to know that at least in North Africa, around the Middle Kingdom of Egypt, that biodiversity then was more or less the same as it is now, if not a little bit higher, because they had a few more species than they have now, back then. And we know that because, like, not only are hieroglyphic inscriptions often identifiable with what animal is being depicted down to the species, but they also then, on top of that, drew pictures of other identifiable species on walls that we still have preserved to this day, as well as having names for identifiable modern species. So, like, we know that at least in Egypt, by the Middle Kingdom in Egypt, biodiversity there was about more or less what it is in that same region today, and then some. And unless you want to make the argument that, like, I don't know, Egypt was just uniquely biodiverse for thousands of years, right up until we started checking, and then it stopped being biologically especially diverse, then you're going to have to assume that the rest of the world was basically around the same time getting to its modern level of biodiversity and then some.
Doesn't have anything to do with Darwin's theory.
I mean, except for being an actual example of Darwin's hypothesis in action, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's harder to see how it could be more a confirmation of what Darwin said than that it was just an example of what he said. Did it demonstrate everything he said? No. Again, wasn't supposed to. I'm just muting this music because
That's
I don't
fair.
see what the point of it is. It's just a commercial for his video.
Natural selection is actually real because natural selection just means survival of the fittest.
No,
Hey, Dapper.
it doesn't. Yes.
You know that it's really funny that creationists like Charles Jackson up here are happy to embrace natural selection because historically creationists thought that natural selection was fake.
Yeah, in
When
fact,
Charles Darwin
Mhm.
first published Origin of Species, and even into like the 1930s, because you get Ronald Fisher talking about it in his book, The Genetical Theory of Natural Selection. He mentions creationists saying that natural selection isn't real.
And
So-
we're actually back to that to some degree. We have
That's
now,
right, with CET.
Yeah, we have it's ICR, that's in Super Creation Research, have abandoned natural selection, which cost them a number of employees, by the way. There were a number of people who were like, nope, this is too dumb, can't stick with this. And yeah, they now have continuous environmental tracking, which I have, even more recently than last time I mentioned it, watched very recent videos with Randy Galuza trying to explain how this idea makes predictions that are different to evolution and what the mechanism behind this is. Like, on the ground, give me what it is that induces the genetic changes that we see in populations. Tell me how that works. Nothing. All he does is continue to lie about rove beetles and Hawaiian spiders and gerbils or something. I don't know. It's very confusing. I think it was hamsters. I think it was hamsters. It was some rodent, and he likes to lie about a paper that basically said that, hey, epigenetics is a thing.
cavefish.
Yeah, he likes to lie about cavefish, too. Yeah, basically he likes to take a whole bunch of papers that are like, either, hey, similar adaptations have happened repeatedly in closely related lineages when faced with similar selection pressures. They'll say, see, therefore natural selection isn't true. It's like, yeah, but the paper is all about how it is true. But okay. Or he'll just take papers that say, hey, we observed an epigenetic effect, and be like, see? We don't need natural selection, which, okay, but that doesn't actually explain the change in the actual DNA sequence between organisms, which we have verified happens. So, you gonna explain that? The answer is just no, he's not. So, he's basically traded an actual model for just literally nothing. Just fancy words that he likes to spout off. Which aren't even all that fancy, if I'm being honest.
And it's clear the fit survive. It's clear that the
Okay, but also, it's not survival of the fittest, right? It is about reproductive
It is not.
success, not survival. You could be absolutely immortal, but also sterile, and your genome will not be reflected in the future generations of your species, no matter how long you live. You need to reproduce. And if you have some mutation that makes it so that you have 1 million kids that go on to reproduce themselves, but all of you only live for like 5 years, whereas your contemporaries are, having 3 or 4 kids over the course of several decades, guess who's going to win out? You, the short-lived ones. So, survival is only in there in as much as survive to reproduce. Now, for many species, the longer you can survive, the more reproductive opportunities you have, and so that is a good proxy for how much you're going to reproduce, how long you live. But it's not the same thing, and in many species that relationship breaks down because many species only reproduce once, or could switch to that strategy if reproducing several times in a lifetime is no longer working out, which is what's happening right now to Tasmanian devils, because their lifespans have shortened so much as a result of transmissible facial tumor disease that they now they're reaching sexual maturity at under a year old, and they're having one large litter more often than they're surviving to have multiple smaller litters. So the actual reproductive strategy of Tasmanian devils is changing in response to the fact that their lifespan has been going down so precipitously because of a transmissible cancer. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're watching Tasmanian devils right now adapt to be short-lived, high litter count animals because they're all going to die too young, which is depressing, but I mean, it's a good example of natural selection. Natural selection is like, oh, hey, it's really hard to fight off this cancer. But you know what's easier? Just being way more fertile and reaching sexual maturity faster. So that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are also environmentalist efforts to try to contain the spread of the transmissible facial tumors and to find ways to inoculate Tasmanian devils and whatnot. So, probably not the case that this is going to be a phenomenon that persists forever. But while it is, we can see interesting evolution happen in a mammal, in a decently sized mammal too. They're pretty big.
Fit survive better, and it's always the lions are always looking. The wild dogs are looking for those people at the pacemakers to eat them because they're not as fit. So,
okay, it is true that predators generally favor targets that are currently ill, but most people who have pacemakers have already ended their reproductive careers, so it's actually not an evolutionary fitness problem.
That's there's a term that refers to antagonistic pleiotropy. That refers to so the thing about evolution is it's pretty much solely about reproduction. Nothing really matters except reproduction.
Yeah.
As Dapper pointed out, how long you live really doesn't matter so long as you can make another generation. So, in fact, one thing that happens is this thing called antagonistic pleiotropy, where mutations that might help you early on in life to have offspring may later in your life have harmful effects, but it doesn't matter from an evolutionary standpoint. There's no selective pressure against them because you've already had your offspring.
Yep.
So if there's some mutation that, helps you have rapidly dividing cells so that, if you get hurt, you can heal. But then later in life, it makes you more prone to cancer. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have cancer later in life because you've already had your offspring. You've already done, contributed to the process of evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get weird little snags like that. So
Osiris Baroque AIG for 200 Argentinian pesos says, sorry, are scientists on the side of Tasmanian devils? My pastor was right all along. Yeah, no, the
true
scientists are on the side of the devils. It's true.
oh, I see. I do listen during these things. And always, the evolutionists are picking up on something that we can see, and it is true, and then they'll say, now, just use your imagination to extrapolate way out here, and you'll see evolution's happening.
Okay. I want to point out that extrapolation from known data is what it is to make a hypothesis, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to take a drink for the whole, can you believe that scientists would do science Yeah, actually, I can. I can believe that, Chuck. But also, I want to point out how creationists, like Chuck here, are very, very often willing to extrapolate into the indefinite past processes that we know have variable rates and cannot be so extended, like the recession rate of the moon or the current rate of change in the dipole moment of Earth's geomagnetic field, right? No. You can just extrapolate that all the way backwards. But then at other times, when it comes to things that we know we can extrapolate backwards, because like in order for us to have them vary, would require that like the fundamentals of physics just radically change. Things like the speed of light or the spontaneous decay rate of various radioactive nuclides. Then they'll be like, yeah, well, what if it was different in the past? It's like, well, that's physically impossible. Yeah, but it could happen. Okay. So when it comes to complaining about inappropriate extrapolation, it's not the scientists who are in the wrong on that one, at least in the majority of cases. So, yeah.
You have to use, it's like that little Barney the dinosaur says, let's use our imagination, and then that's what evolution is, just imagining.
No, it's actually a rigorous science with things like hypothesis testing, statistical analysis, mathematical formulae, reproducible results, confirmed
You gotta
predictions.
get out in the field, gather data, do experiments.
Yeah, like a science. Whereas creationism, I'm not going to say they never do field work, but then again, I've seen creationists come back from field work and just lie about what they found.
Yeah.
Like when
Cough, cough, Mark Armitage.
Yeah, like Mark Armitage or
Andrew Snelling.
Andrew Snelling, who not only will he just put people in front of stress fractures in rock fold so that he can pretend that those stress fractures that he put the people in front of don't exist, but he'll also just blatantly lie about what his protractor reads. I'm not kidding. I've seen the coconino sandstone. I've seen the angles on the cross-bedding. It's not the numbers that Andrew Snelling is reporting. Because he wants the coconino to be a marine deposit, when it's a subaerial deposit. It's a desert. And so he'll just lie about how steep the cross-bedding is. Because if he can lie about that, then he can pretend that it's a marine deposit, when it's very clearly not. Also, it has preserved raindrops, which... Please explain to me how you can preserve raindrops under the ocean. I don't know if you know what happens when a raindrop hits the ocean, but it doesn't then just travel all the way down to the bottom of the ocean and impact on the sand there. It just becomes part of the ocean right at the top.
Dapper, you're just saying that because of your evolutionary biases. Obviously.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's only an evolutionist.
Your evolutionary physics biases. There we go.
Yes. Oh, man, I was actually... The script I'm writing today is about a trad-cath geocentrist guy.
Okay.
And there's a lot of stuff where he's like, well, that's just this materialist physics. I'm like, yep, sure is.
Is he...
Correct.
He's not one of those, like, the church should have gone further with Galileo, is he?
Well, he says that the church was right about Galileo. I don't know if he thinks that they should have gone further. I think it seems like he's probably okay with house arrest and excommunication.
Gotcha. Because I've seen a handful of people on Twitter who post stuff like that, and it's like, good lord.
Yeah, like, geez, man. Yeah, he's also a Vatican II was a bad thing overall, and we should just undo it. Undo it. Go back. Which,
okay.
It's a weird thing to do because the reason that Catholics generally treat it as authoritative is the same reason they treat most of the other councils that they accept as authoritative. So it's like, where you're just picking and choosing, huh? Okay, because yeah. Anyway, for $5, Lieutenant Math Navigator says, "Hey, if SpongeBob can have a campfire underwater, Stelling can have his rainstorm."
They also have an ocean underwater. They have the Goo Lagoon.
To be fair, that actually makes a little bit of sense because there are in fact underwater lakes and rivers and whatnot.
I don't actually know what goo. I mean, they say it's goo, but like, what is it? I don't know what it's made of.
I'm just going to assume it's hypersaline water.
It could be, I guess. Yeah, could be true.
I mean, that's what actual lakes and ocean, or not oceans, but lakes and rivers and whatnot underwater actually are.
Yeah.
And so what they do is they'll take what we do know and they'll use it, but then they'll bank on people not only not knowing enough about this, but that we're never going to know. Again, like the...
No, actually, it's quite the opposite. I don't know about you, Jackson, but I would love for everyone to know as much as possible about all of these topics.
Yeah, sure.
In fact, the sort of one of the secret goals of the channel is not just to dunk on young Earth creationists, because that's pretty easy, but it's to actually then tell you what the real science is and how we know and why that tells us that things like young Earth creationism are nonsense. That's one of the actual goals of the channel, is to teach you these things. I want you to know all of these things. I want you to be inspired to go do things like maybe go to school and take some biology classes, or start reading some biology papers or paleontology papers or geology papers or something like that, right? Like, to actually start digging into the science for real. Go beyond just like pop sci headlines. That's one of the things that I would love for my audience to do. And I know some of them do it. And I get that not everyone has time or the inclination for that, and that's fine. But like, that's still one of my big goals. All right, here we go.
Big Bang. We'll never know whether it's really true or not, but we're going.
No, actually, we are very, very confident that the Big Bang is correct because it's ongoing. Now, there are many unknowns about the Big Bang, but the idea that at some point the universe expanded from a state of minimal scale factor is not under any dispute in the literature.
With it. And Gary Parker, Dr. Gary Parker, I was working with him in Lakeland, Florida one time, and he said to me, evolution thrives in the gray areas, in the dark areas, in the unknown and the uncertainties only. As soon as data, evidence, and observations roll in, then evolution just flees the scene because now truth shows it not only is a iffy theory, we find out it can't be, at least not in this area.
I mean,
That's crazy.
Yeah, if you found that out, then I would love for you to publish what it is that got you to that conclusion.
That would be, that'd be super cool. But they haven't done that for some weird reason. I wonder why.
It's probably because they have not actually found that to be the case.
Oh, okay, I get it. I got you now.
Yeah.
Gary Parker. That name rings a... I'm pretty sure we wrote about him in Rocks Volume 1.
I mean, you wrote about most people.
That's true. We sure did. I mean...
Well, most creationists.
I don't remember what specifically was his bit. Okay, we mentioned him a bunch of times. Okay, yeah, I don't remember what specifically.
Oh, I forgot. So if I double check here, so Vishanti's fundraiser is still going, so it is linked in the description. So if you are so inclined, it is at 84% funded. This is again because Vishanti is she's in a rough patch right now. She was laid off from a job that she really liked at a nonprofit, helping people navigate various California state regulations for things like getting assistance, and she was primarily helping things like new immigrants and things like that to get things like some food assistance or whatever, or even helping with translating for them. They had to let her go because as a result of, just general economic downturns, their budget had to be cut in more than half. So, yeah, she's been struggling to find something else that will fill that in. And so if you want to help her out with getting some bills paid, that is there. And she's a big part of this channel, so if you want her to be able to stay being a big part of the channel, go ahead and give her a little bit of support. Every single dollar helps. So if you don't have much, but you want to give her a couple bucks, feel free. All right, here we go.
I also remembered where we did write about Gary Parker. Actually, I remember because that name was ringing a bell. He wrote a chapter in New Answers Book 4 titled Is Speciation Evidence for Creation or Evolution? In which he basically did the exact same thing that Charles Jackson is doing right now. It's just saying, well, speciation alone isn't evolution.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I mean, it's not all of evolution, but it is evolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I do
just like
remember this.
saying, hey, give me an example of a dog. And then I point to, like, I don't know, like a Dalmatian. And you're like, yeah, but that's not all of dogs. It's like, that's not what you asked for. You wanted an example of a dog. I pointed you to one. If you wanted to know what all dogs were ever, then you should have asked that question. And we would have had not a short conversation in which I point to a dog, but a very long, hours-long conversation. In which we go into all sorts of things, like horizontal gene transfer and mutation and implications, or niche partitioning and niche construction and adaptive radiation, all sorts of stuff.
Anymore. And so whenever we don't know stuff, the evolutionists just say, oh, well, the reason is because of this and this and this and this, until later, more evidence comes in, and in the past 7 years, more has happened in the past 70 years.
Give one example. Give
Yeah.
one example of what you're talking about. One example.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just one. We just need one example of whatever it is you are blabbing about.
Yeah, of course.
One.
The problem is that there are no examples of.
Yep.
And you can tell because, like, he never gives any. Like, even if you said, well, I mean, maybe in this talk he doesn't. This is our 5th or 6th topic of his. At no point has he ever actually given an example of this.
There's new data, and guess what, folks? It's all gone our way.
Like
When?
what? Name one.
Yeah. When has it ever gone your way?
If I were, when I hold a position typically, right, and someone says, well, can you give me an example of this? I'm usually like, yeah, happily.
Yeah.
And then we can look at examples. Evolution is a great example of that. If we want to talk about an example of like mutations, we could talk about the Richard Lenski coli experiment. We could talk about, actual observations of natural selection, like the peppered moths. We can talk about speciation examples that have occurred on observable timescales, like the Procambarus virginalis. Like, you see, it's not hard. It's
No.
not hard to find examples of these things.
If anything, it's hard to pick just one.
Yeah.
That's what sometimes trips me up. Is like, well, hold on, I have to think about which one I want to pick because I can think of like 8 of them off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's like asking someone to tell you, like, hey, describe in one example why you like your favorite TV show. There's good. At best, someone might be like, oh, well, this is why. And if they can't immediately give you an answer, it's probably because they're trying to figure out which thing to talk about because there's too many of them.
Yeah.
The creationists have a lot of unanswered questions.
Also, I want to point out that when he says, oh, in the past 7 years, we've watched videos from him that were from way more than 7 years ago. And he was making the predictions about how evolution was about to collapse any day now. And it's like, here we are, like, 10, 15 years later, still waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because you remember, evolution has been a theory in crisis for like 60 years or something.
So do the evolutionists. But all the questions that have been answered, almost every time, they go our way. And we find out answers to questions that show evolution can't be true, or
Hey, ONB, Magna Chondria are the powerhouse of the soul. Has gifted a Dapper Dinosaur membership. Thank you very much. Let's take a drink. Alright, here we go. Oh, wait, my mouse is being weird. Now, here we go.
at least what they said about it, we now know it never was that way. So that's what, if you could pull up the first frame on the PowerPoint there, I'll start. You really can't teach science without Calvin and Hobbes.
I disagree. I've learned a lot of science without any Calvin and Hobbes. Not that I don't like Calvin and Hobbes. I do. But like, yeah, I can learn pretty much all of the science without any of the Calvin and Hobbes.
So here's a Calvin and Hobbes. He's named after two famous philosophers, you know.
I did know. It's really obvious.
When you look at me, it's clear that my genes contain the evolutionary perfection of earthly DNA. I am the culmination of creation.
And Hobbes goes, with no tail? I don't think so.
Stop that. My butt doesn't need aesthetic enhancement.
But, of course, according to evolutionists, we did used to have tails.
Yeah. Literally, you personally used to have a tail there, Charles Jackson. As an individual, you had a tail. It's not just that humans as a species used to have tails. Humans still have tails. They just don't keep them for their whole life.
And they'll say, well, we lost our tails, see, but we still have a vestige of our tails,
Yep.
the tailbone. They keep.
You know, Dapper, we've actually at this point figured out what the precise genetic change occurred that resulted in tail loss.
We know which gene mutated in exactly which way, and we can reproduce it in other mammals.
Yeah, you can put it in mice, and they don't develop tails. Isn't it crazy how that works?
Weird. Weird that
Yep, and
humans...
the same... Sorry, what?
Weird that humans would have all the genetics to produce long post-anal tails, but they're broken in a very specific way that in other organisms results in the same change to their morphology as it does in humans. And especially weird if humans never would have had tails in the first place. So, you're telling me that the intelligent designer, presumably God, was sitting up there in, we'll say, heaven, and was like, okay, so I don't want any of the apes to have tails, or the humans. Or to be able to make vitamin C, but that's going to go for all the monkeys and the humans. Okay, so what if I break in all the primates and the humans the gulo gene in exactly the same way, producing a gulo pseudogene? And then, in just the apes and the humans, I'll break their tail production in exactly the same way genetically. But none of them will actually be related to each other with common descent, because that would be a fun goof to play on everybody. That's is that what we're actually going with as what actually happened up in heaven?
It must be.
Yeah, I mean, what other option would there be that maintains special creation with apes as not the same kind as all the rest of the primates, and humans standing alone as their own separate special creation apart from any other group?
And also, humans and great apes get a whole bunch of retroviral insertions in the exact same genes just for funsies.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a bit of a goof.
Yeah, it's a prank, bro. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's a social experiment.
Lieutenant Math the Navigator for $5 says, how is it this man goes through life with that voice without constantly having his face punched into his occipital? Are we sure that he doesn't have his face constantly punched into his occipital? Because I'm not. Okay, look, first, I do not advocate for violence against Dr. Charles Jackson. However, I would not be terribly surprised if he's the kind of guy who tends to get punched. That wouldn't shock me. Not that I'm saying anyone should do it. I'm not. You shouldn't. But, I kind of would get it if, when he goes out to a bar, he ends up in a fight pretty often. Although I feel like he doesn't go to bars. I feel like he's not the drinking type. Although most Christians don't have a no drinking rule, so maybe. I don't know. Alright, we're gonna get a little bit more in, then we're gonna take our quick hiatus. Not hiatus, break. What am I talking about? Then we'll come back. I need to refresh this beverage here a little bit.
You call it the tailbone. It's the coccyx. Now, the coccyx is at the bottom, the end of your spine, and as Dr. Dwayne T. Gish said,
that's true. Take a
can
drink.
You think of any better way to end the spinal column than this? And they said it's a useless organ now.
I'm not aware of anyone ever having said it was useless.
Nope.
That is not what Vestigial
That is a creationist claim.
Mm-hmm.
The only time that, and Darwin didn't give this example, but the only time that vestige was used as synonymous with non-functional was in the first edition of Origin of Species. But then by the time he was writing Descent of Man, he had changed the definition because he realized, things don't have to be useless to be vestiges; they can still be functional for other purposes.
And you can even see that in just the general use of the word vestige.
Yeah.
Right? If I see the vestige of a stone wall, that doesn't mean it can't be useful for something. I could still put some crossbeams across there or use it for some shelter out in the woods or something. Right? Mm-hmm. It's still the vestige of whatever building used to be there. That doesn't make it useless. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. So you guys can get the first we do in fact have a teaser trailer for the next Star Trek Adventures game on Star Trek Endurance. So we do finally have a teaser. We are not going to be playing that this Friday, even though I said that we were, because it turns out that one of the people who confirmed, and I'm not going to tell you that her name was Chesh. Won't tell you that. Yeah, it turns out she was wrong to have confirmed that they were available. Yep. That's what happened. All right, and then we'll be back, and you might end up also hearing the musical stylings of one Beethoven, but yeah, we'll be back in just next time on Star Trek Endurance.
First Officer's Log, Stardate 60195.9. After some much-needed shore leave, we've resupplied the ship and spent 2 weeks tweaking our sensor suites for more efficient and effective use while exploring the Shackleton Expanse. Now, the Kong Z has been assigned escort duty for a transport convoy to Array 3-5, a joint Klingon Federation deep space research outpost deep within the Shackleton Expanse. We're joined by the IKS Pe Kolvij under command of Captain Gavik. The convoy will be a prime target for any pirates in the area, since it will be carrying valuable equipment and personnel. While the Orion and Ferengi governments have banned piracy and especially the slave trade, it is no secret that the Syndicate and, shall we say, independent Ferengi daimons are willing to flout such prohibitions if they think there's enough money to be made. We still have a couple of days until we leave dry dock, just enough time for engineering to make sure the new systems are well integrated and for the crew to get a few more days in of enjoying the hospitality of Narendra Station.
During the flight, the convoy will be forced out of warp in dangerous territory, and a new threat will rear its head. It seems that the Orions, Ferengi, and spatial anomalies are far from the biggest threat in the Shackleton Expanse. Can the crew effect repairs and fend off unknown enemies, all while keeping the precious crew and cargo of the convoy safe? Find out next time on Star Trek Endurance. We are back. Welcome back, everybody. I'm glad that you stuck with me, those of you who did, which looked like virtually everyone. So that is much appreciated. I do say that Ray Gatubello put in a super chat for $2 and retracted it. I did see what was in it, and I do think the retraction was appropriate. So we will simply not discuss it. So I want to say thank you very much, Ray Gatubello. And also say that, yes, please refrain from doing that particular. Didn't even show up in the video, so even if this chat disappears, it still won't be there. So that's good. All right. So now that we're back, I want to say right before we get right back into it that, yes, this channel is indeed supported almost entirely through the direct support of the people who are here, who are members, who are patrons, who are super chatting, gifting memberships. sending super stickers, sending super thanks, and even grabbing me the occasional thing from my Amazon wish list. Which, by the way, there is an Amazon wish list linked in the description for both me and Bent, as well, also as Vishanti. So feel free to check those out. Rail got Bella for $2 says the only useless organ in a young earther, I think you meant is the brain. Yeah. Oh wait, the only useless organ is a young earther brain. Got it, with the brain emoji. Yep. Thank you very much. And yes, it is indeed an apparently useless organ in most of them. All right. So if you want to support the channel, if you're enjoying this and you're not currently supporting, or maybe you're thinking about upping your support, there are some great ways to do that. There's the Patreon, where it starts at $1 a month. You can get a 15% discount for going annual. There's the channel memberships that start at $1.99 a month. There is no annual option there, but both of them give you early access to my scripted videos. There should be one coming out later this week, hopefully very soon, like hopefully by Thursday. But every time I say that, it's always like a day or two later. So, I mean, maybe by Saturday, I guess. That's often months and months ahead of time that you'll get those early access videos. You'll also get access to my patron and member-only Discord server that is there just for people who are supporting or who have been gifted memberships. And I think it's a really great place. It's positive. It's a very non-toxic place. It is a place with lots of cat pics. There's a bunch of different channels for all sorts of different niche interests. If you want to get conlanging advice, if you want to do TTRPG stuff, if you want to share art, memes, there's channels for all that stuff. So yeah, and also, I mean, they just help directly. So, yeah, if this channel doesn't get support, it can't persist. So that is why I would say, please, if you can afford it, consider helping out. And if you can't afford it, then please don't. I don't want to take any money that you can't afford to give. So, with that being said, Jackson, you ready to get back into the whole the coccyx?
I am ready to jump in the coccyx.
Okay, you should make a video about that too. The coccyx.
We did. We talked about it in the Gibbon's Tale. Yes, the Gibbon's Tale. We talked
a video all about the coccyx, or did it have other stuff in it?
No, it had other stuff in it, but it talked about the the ALU that jumped in that the gene that's involved in the development of the coccyx that caused it to terminate development.
Which is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. It's neat stuff.
But I want an hour and a half video all about the coccyx and nothing else.
An hour and a half? Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Dapper, do you remember when I did a video on the penis bone?
Yes.
I did a video on the penis bone. For anyone who doesn't know, I did that a long time ago. The baculum.
Yep.
Fun factulum. See what I did there?
I'm going to hit play before we try to do more Latin puns.
Just a vestigial throwback from back in the day when we used to have monkey tails.
It's not just that, it is also that.
It's just a vestige, a throwback thing, leftovers from experimental evolutionary things that happened.
I would not count them as experimental. Evolution doesn't actually have a mind to experiment. It's just that mutations are stochastic, and it can only select from what mutations occur. And so, I guess you could say it's an experiment in the sense that, like, if you want to inappropriately anthropomorphize all of nature, it's sort of like nature's just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks, and then when it sticks, it persists, because that's what it means to stick. But I don't even think that's very appropriate. Rayla got to Bella for $2 says, furries approve of the baculum video. Well, nice. Good. It's good to know that we can we have the support of the furry community. Which, by the way, we are only at 10 out of 30, so Jackson, I don't know, you might want to start warming up your vocal cords.
10 out of 30 furries?
No, super chats.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. And also, we're only at 9 drinks. I'm just saying, if we got a whole bunch of memberships, I might have to just slam this whole thing and then come back pretty tipsy.
In the past, it's a leftover. And so they called it a vestige. And the definition of a vestigial organ is one that has very little or diminished or no function at all.
Oh, very little or diminished or no function. Hey, Jackson, compared to an actual tail on a monkey that has a tail, is the coccyx of diminished use?
I would say so.
Wow. Yeah, me too. Because while it continues to function for certain various muscle attachment points, like it does in all other monkeys, and I mean animals, well, tetrapods broadly, it also doesn't help with things like balance, which it does in basically all monkeys with tails, and it certainly doesn't help with gripping things like it does in New World monkeys. Nor can it be used in communication like it is in most tetrapods. So right there, we know of diminished uses for the coccyx as compared to an external post-anal tail. So, yeah. It is definitely diminished. So, I don't know why Jackson decided to just give away the entire ballgame, but he did. I also don't know why he's bothering to not stand in the spotlight that's clearly being shown on that stage, as instead in the relative darkness in front of the stage. It's a weird choice. Especially since that light also tends to wash out the screen projectors a little bit. It's just a really bizarre lighting choice. And so, yeah, it's just weird to me. And that might be the church's fault, not his. Because this is clearly a church space. They've even got a little isolation booth for the drummer. I like that. Yeah. Drummers often need those. Sorry, drummers.
Well, now we found out that the tailbone or the coccyx actually has a lot of functions.
Yeah, it does have a lot of functions. But remember how just recently, and by recently I mean seconds before you just said that, you said that vestigial means that it has few or reduced or no function, and that therefore, no matter how many functions you find, if it still lacks functions that it previously would have had as the full organ, it can still count as vestigial. Wow, it's almost like you defeated yourself. I'm just going to take a drink for the absolute and complete lack of self-awareness about what he just did there. Yeah. As Jillian Wren says, I'm beginning to think that Charles Jackson fellow isn't very bright. Yeah, not very bright at all.
Using yours right now. You wouldn't be able to sit down comfortably without that there.
Hey, speak for yourself, human. I'm a noble ceratosaurus. I sit down on my ischel boot, not on my coccyx or tail otherwise. But Jackson here, being a human, you use your coccyx, right?
I do.
Okay.
And if you have to have it surgically removed for bone cancer, not only couldn't you not sit, but you couldn't stand comfortably for very long either. You're not comfortable in any position.
I mean, I've known many people who've had pretty serious coccyx injuries, and that is generally true. It is very hard to find a comfortable way to exist with a severe injury to your coccyx. So, like, yeah, it sucks. I'll take a drink, I guess. It's true. So, good job, Jackson. I mean, bad Jackson. Good job generally to good Jackson, because he's good Jackson. He's doing good work.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, not to be too terribly potty-mouthed about this, but the muscles for controlling your rectum are attached and anchored to the coccyx.
Depraved Ambience asks, does an organ that has been accepted but no longer has the functions of the organ originally or previously had still count as vestigial? So that is a good question, and I don't think there's one correct answer to that, right? Because you can think of most things as a vestigial something else, right? Like my jaw is a vestigial gill arch. Okay, that's weird, but it's kind of true. You know, all my limbs are vestigial fins. Yeah, I guess. The swim bladder in teleost fish is a vestigial lung. Technically, yeah, I suppose. Bird wings are vestigial grasping forelimbs. Yeah, kinda. But generally, we don't talk about it that way. But, like, that's just an arbitrary choice that people generally make. When you get right down to it, yeah, all those things are vestigial, right? Heck, my inner ear bones are also vestigial gill arches. Like, that's technically, yeah. I don't know, Jackson, do you disagree?
No, I think you're right. I think at some point it just becomes like, yeah, awkward, but there's no hard line as to when that is the case. So,
Right. Yeah. Like if we talk about like dolphins having vestigial lips, but I mean they use those lips as highly, evolved sound producing organs that are used for communication. Are they vestigial lips, or are they just something that is now basically a new organ? And the answer is both, kind of. Let's see. Osiris Baroque AIG for 200 Argentinian peso says, talking about bacula, whale phalli, coccyx. I'm feeling a theme here. Totally just you. That I don't know what you're talking about. A rail got to Bella for $5 says, Charlie's booty muscles must be strong because he extracts so much from it. Or he's just constantly in depends from overstretching in order to get all of his ideas out.
In other words, you couldn't hold back your poops. Also, the muscles for parturition or childbirth in females are anchored on the coccyx.
So if I remember correctly, not true for all of them, but it is for some of them. I believe the majority of them are actually anchored to the actual like hip, but I could be wrong about that. It's been a while since a focus of my study was human pelvic anatomy. So, but either way, it is true that there are important muscles for the pelvic floor that anchor to the coccyx. So he's not wrong.
You couldn't push out a baby. And so I was explaining this to a combined two high school biology classes in Venezuela one time, and the students started laughing. And I didn't really know why, because the Venezuelan sense of humor is a little different. So I thought I maybe said something that was funny to them. The reason they were laughing was...
I do like that this is Charles Jackson discovers that other cultures are different. It's a fun thing for him to learn this late in life.
Their biology teacher, and of course any biology teacher that gets surgery tells the students all about it as part of the lesson. She had to have her coccyx removed for bone cancer, and the students...
You think he says coccyx to avoid saying the word cock?
he might.
Okay. But it's
Also,
not
I thought he was going to say had her appendix removed.
Yeah, but it's not the only word he says weirdly. Like he also says genome instead of genome.
Yeah, genome. Yeah, weird.
And I don't know what that is. He's also not the only person I've heard say genome. There's always creationists. It's like evidences. You hear someone say genome, there's a pretty good chance that they got all their information from creationists.
Yeah.
Or maybe they got all their informations.
We're laughing because they're like, well, by golly, Mrs. So-and-so was right. Yeah,
Wow, your biology teacher didn't lie to you about what various things the coccyx did.
Had to have reconstructive surgery on her rectum so she could control her bowel movements, and she had to have a cesarean for the next baby she had because she couldn't push in childbirth. And she also was out of the room at the time because she couldn't stand in the room or sit. She had to go take a walk up and down the hall every once in a while to ease the pain. And it was the only class that ever explained this to where everybody knew, well, by golly, that's true. Dr. Jackson doesn't just make up this stuff.
Okay, yes, you didn't make up that stuff there, Dr. Charles Jackson. But, it is just dripping with irony that you think that means that you don't make any of this stuff up, or that therefore we should just generally trust you, because you make a whole lot of stuff up. Rail got to Bella for $2 says, Charles pronounces things like an angry beaver. Thank you very much.
So the coccyx is extremely important. Now, you don't have any bones to hold in your guts in the front, but you have your abs, your six-pack.
Stupid humans not having abdominal ribs. What is wrong with you? Get some gastralia, you idiots.
Yeah, we fumbled the ball on that one.
Seriously. I mean, to be fair, virtually every organism did. Even birds don't have them anymore. It's basically now just like turtles, maybe, and crocodilians that still have gastralia.
Or 8-pack or whatever you've got, that holds in your guts from the front. But in the back, you also don't have bones. Your rib cage ends way up here.
I think you mean your sides, because in the back you've got this thing called the spine. I don't know. I mean, it's on screen a little bit. But what do I know?
So you've got a series of
Like
of
the
V-shaped-
molars that don't exist.
Thanks, Ramat. Osiris Baroque AIG for $200. Sorry, 200 Argentinian pesos. Says, Batson admitting people are surprised when he doesn't make something up. Yeah, you're...
That's true.
Good
yeah.
point. Can you believe it? They found something I didn't make up. Like, actually, I have a hard time believing that.
muscles that go down and attach, guess where? To the back of the coccyx.
No, your abdominal wall muscles do not generally go back and attach to the coccyx. That's not... Oh my god. Most of them connect to the spine above your pelvis. And some of them attach to the pelvis. And yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe a few of them at the very bottom do attach to the coccyx. But generally, no. No. Just, I'm taking a drink. Just look at a muscle anatomy figure from the back for a human, and you'll see that most of the abdominal wall muscles on the side and the back connect to the spine above the pelvis. Also, you can just tell, like, just stand up if you're a human, and you can stand up, like, you're not, like, in a wheelchair or anything. Just stand up. Put your hand on your butt cheek, and then walk a little bit. And you'll notice that if you twist your back and forth, or, side to side, that nothing really flexes a whole lot back there. Whereas when you walk, your gluteus maximus muscles flex a lot. So if your back muscles were attaching to your coccyx, you'd be able to feel it just by putting your hand on your butt cheek and walking around. But you can't.
And it's very important. If you ever have troubles with those muscles, that lower back pain, it's all because of that. Because
no, it's not all because of that. Also, wouldn't that be an example of bad design if it were true, Jackson?
If your muscles were attached to your coccyx?
And therefore that was the cause of all back pain?
That would be rather bizarre, yeah.
Yeah, that would seem like really radically horrible design. Like, even worse than the actual human body, which is already kind of a shit show.
it's not working as well as it ought to, but the coccyx is certainly not a useless organ.
Correct. But remember, it doesn't have to be. According to Charles Jackson. Not according to me. Yeah. Not according to good Jackson. Not according to Darwin. According to bad Jackson, it does not need to be useless in order to be vestigial.
Yep. He literally said this just a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So now we get to point out that it's not just according to the actual scientific literature or real scientists. It's according to bad Jackson himself. Because he let slip the actual definition for vestigial. Shouldn't have done that.
But there are many organs that the evolutionists said, well, other ones are throwbacks from when we used to be rats and worms.
We were never rats. Humans were never rats. Rats and primates diverged sometime in the late Cretaceous. Well, rodents and lagomorphs diverged from, like, euarchontins sometime in the late Cretaceous. And primates themselves...
Primates separated from them.
Primates might have been around by the end of the Cretaceous, but they were certainly around by, like, the very early parts of the Cenozoic.
The number I see is like 90 million years ago or so is usually when it said, like,
for primates from
like rodents, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty far back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also, hey, I see an organ on that list that I no longer have because it tried to kill me.
Is it your appendix?
It is.
Nice.
It tried to take me out, but I took it out first.
Aha! Take that, stupid appendix. I thought maybe at first it was going to be tonsils or wisdom teeth. Wait, do you have tonsils and wisdom teeth?
I mean, I guess I have my tonsils. I've never had them taken out. My wisdom teeth are all sorts of wonky places. And so my oral surgeon said, yeah, so we're not touching that unless they become a problem for you. And I said, that is fine with me.
All right.
Because they're, like, the ones on the top are, like, above the other molars. So, yeah, not great. But, and then the other ones are, like, pressed up against, like, a facial nerve. So, yeah, they were just like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah. Ray Gatubella for $2 says, I think Charles is both a rat and a worm right now. Yes, but only metaphorically. All right, here we go.
and fish. And we don't use these organs anymore. They're just waiting to disappear, like our pinky
Again, no, that's not how that works.
Our pinky?
fingers
What?
and our pinky
Yeah, apparently pinkies.
toes. They're waiting to disappear.
What?
Are they? I don't think they
What?
are. Look, one digit had to be the smallest, right?
There aren't any primates that like lack pinky toes or your pinky finger. Like what are we even talking about?
There are primates that lack thumbs. Maybe thumbs are on the way out.
What the heck? What are we even talking about here? What's going on?
You know.
What is he doing?
And
What does
I
he want
actually
from us?
I don't know. Well, he wants us to abandon science in favor of his theology.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. Which, as a former follower of his theology, no thank you. Well, I mean, I don't know about all of his theological standards, but in a broad sense.
got this from an atheist website. These
An atheist
Dun, dun,
website.
dun.
I'll bet that this was not an atheist website, and instead this was just a blog about like biology or something.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, guys, if you have or evolution equals atheism or science equals atheism on your bingo cards, probably check that one off.
pictures of vestigial organs. I think the website is still up, but it would include the wisdom teeth.
Wisdom teeth are vestigial in most humans, not all, but yeah.
Your tonsils and adenoids.
Tonsils,
Actually-
it's a little iffy.
That's like I've heard creationists talk or point to that as an example more than I've seen actual evolutionists point to that as an example. So yeah, I'm like, I personally never use that if I'm talking about vestigial organs. I have never used tonsils as an example.
Yeah,
I
I don't
would
think I
much-
have either.
I'd much rather use the appendix, the cecoappendicular complex, because it's very obvious what it's used for. You can look at like every other mammal, and at least every other herbivorous mammal, and be like, oh hey, look, they have this really large cecoappendicular complex, and we as well as other omnivorous and carnivorous mammals just don't. It's almost like it's used as an inoculum for the bacteria in your intestines so you can process fibrous material or something. Weird.
I want to say thank you to Lance from North Texas Fossils, who just donated $20 to Vishanti's GoFundMe. I really do appreciate it.
Nice.
Thank you very much. All right. Let me figure out where the heck my mouse went again.
The appendix.
Yeah, that's so. It's probably vestigial. It's not a vestigial vermiform cecum, and so it actually might not be. It can go back and forth on that one. It's certainly not a very important organ.
The bones here that are floating loose in the tissues of whales, which actually are
You mean the hip and leg bones that we know are hip and leg bones because they're associated with embryonic hind limb buds, and they also mark the transition between lumbar and cervical vertebrae in the spinal column that's right there. Those, and then also attach, just like you were talking about with reproductive muscles, to the same areas on a whale that you would expect for hip muscles, because that's a thing hips do. Those ones there, Charles Jackson. He's going to say that they're not actually hip and leg bones.
are where their reproductive organs and muscles for pushing out babies, calving, are located, and of course the coccyx, and there's that blind cavefish, which is
All right, he didn't say it, so fair enough. But I mean, it's pretty clear that's what he meant. But yeah,
Yeah. But also, like, I'd be willing to bet if I looked right now, I could probably find papers on the genetics, the developmental genetics of those hind limb bones that are, like, identical to the genes involved in all other mammals.
Oh, yeah, I mean, they obviously. Otherwise, they would be formed as
Be willing to bet I could very easily find those papers, Charles Jackson. Like, why? Because like it's the same thing with our inner ear bone, the like the malleus and incus. It's like the genes that regulate that process are the same ones that are involved in the jaw bones in reptiles. So, like, why would is it again? I guess it's just another little oopsie daisy.
Yeah.
I guess.
The creator having another goof.
Yeah.
He's a really goofy guy, that creator.
So silly. Silly goose.
Osiris Baroque AIG for 200 Argentinian pesos says a few things that are actually disappearing in humans. The palmaris longus muscle, yep, and the fibularis tertius muscles. Things that are strangely not disappearing. People who don't like, share, and subscribe.
Oh, that reminded me of another one. The auricular muscles. The muscles that attempt to move your ears, but can't. Because they're
yep.
too weak.
I mean, in some humans, they can move them a little bit. Uselessly.
That's true. But yeah, like for most people, and I mean, you can, again, and RJ and I talked about that in Rocks Volume 1, you can, like, look, you can test that the nerve, or that the nerves are sending a signal to these muscles to contract to try to move the ear in the direction of sound, and they're just too weak for most people to do that. Like it's not really a question of what these do, because again, they do the exact same thing in like all other mammals. So
yeah, it's the degree to which all of this lines up in terms of genetics, embryology, and anatomy, and then Charles Jackson is just gonna be like, yeah, but a muscle attaches there, so I don't care. Like, okay, it's a pretty weak statement there, that you don't care that despite this overwhelming evidence of vestigiality, because some muscle attaches there, that suddenly that makes it not vestigial, even though you yourself gave a definition that would not preclude such organs. Also, I think he's about to say cavefish eyes, which I don't know how he's going to argue that cavefish eyes aren't vestigial. I think he won't even bother. I think he'll just skip over it.
It's a whole nother story. Now, these have all
he just
been
skipped over it.
Fun.
Used to be when I'd talk at a university campus,
That's confirmed
the
prediction.
evolutionists would start talking about vestigial organs or junk organs, organs that no longer function because in our evolution.
Is that his whole thing? Is it just to make an analogy to junk DNA?
sounds like it, yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, that's so painful.
But yeah, no, you were right, Dapper. It was a confirmed prediction. He didn't even bother to talk about cavefish eyes.
Yeah, of course not.
Even though it's so obvious. They're
It's
in
right
the same
there.
species as fish that have eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? What?
I don't even know.
And you know what? Like, he could at least use that as an example, like, oh, this is degeneration, not evolution, something like that. But he couldn't even do that. He's just nope, they're not vestigial. Okay.
Skipping over. Next. Olivia Williams for $6.99 says, what is Bad Jackson's explanation of wisdom teeth? Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know what he would say is the explanation for that.
Fall, probably.
Probably, yeah. Well, yeah, it's going to have something to do with the fall. Sin, basically. You have too many teeth because you sin too much, I guess.
Yeah.
Or because Adam and Eve sinned. Which, hey, here's a fun fact. Do you know that attributing the moral culpability for the fall of Adam and Eve onto all humans forever is actually not a universal belief among Christians? Christians can just choose to not accept that idea. They don't have to.
Okay.
There are long-standing churches that don't really have much to do with that idea. Yeah, and that you're just morally culpable for your own actions that you took as a morally responsible being. Yeah.
Yeah.
It turns out, yeah, you can just do that and still be a Christian. Weird, right? You don't have to take the absolute worst version of your religion. Just like you can be a Muslim without supporting ISIS, if you believe it. Yeah. Which, I mean, obviously, most of them don't. Yeah. Hey, religious types. I don't want you to stop being religious. I don't particularly care. What I do want you to do is to not take the absolute shittiest, most destructive, and most anti-intellectual version of your religion as the one true version of your religion. Just don't do that. Anyway, I didn't even finish Olivia Williams' super chat. I'm sorry. So Olivia Williams for $6.99 Beaver Bucks says, "What is Bad Jackson's explanation of wisdom teeth? What use have they besides being a health hazard with a Ghidorah? We'll take a drink for that." And yeah, I don't think he has one, other than, again, like we said, like Vafal broadly.
Evolutionary ancient past, they once had a function, but they're on their way out because
not necessarily. There are animals that have persisted for an extremely long time with vestigial organs from an extremely long time ago, right? Like, snakes probably lost their legs sometime in like the mid-Cretaceous, and many species of snakes retain either legs, actually, in the case of like pythons, or vestiges of a hip and leg bone in many other snakes. Right? Like that's the thing.
Evolution is sending them on their way out by natural selection. We don't use them anymore, so whenever something goes wrong with them, it either causes us problems or it just finally is fading away. In the 1930s, there were 180.
You know what? Speaking of whale pelvic bones and the baculum, I actually did read a paper about the evolution of the baculum in cetaceans because it was being used as like a control for what reproductive selection pressures existed for the baculum that were independent of the hip's need to maintain like a weight bearing capacity. And so they were like, we'll look at them in whales. And so they've noticed actual trends to do with like reproductive habits versus baculum size and shape and whatnot. And they were like, yeah, we couldn't have isolated this if we had been using any other mammals, so we used whales. And I was like, you know what? That's pretty clever. I like it. I don't remember what the conclusions were, and I don't super care about the selection pressures on the os baculum. But it was interesting that they were able to isolate out the weight-bearing problems associated with the evolution of the os baculum, and then just look at only the reproductive selection pressures because whales exist. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $4.99 says, if God wanted us to think, he would have given us brains. Bad Jackson, probably. Yes. Oh, goodness. Oh, my allergies are flaring up. That's always fun. My goodness. Thanks, Monsoon. It's monsoon season here, guys. So, like, in addition to being way more humid, it causes allergy flare-ups, which means that my eyes get super itchy. And also, it means that the Palo Verde beetles are out. And I don't know if you know what a Palo Verde beetle is, Jackson. But
tell me about it.
It's like 5 inches long.
Oh.
Yeah. And they've got like
4-inch
antennae, and they've got like 1.5 mandibles. So like they're not fun to encounter. And they are heavy.
Oh, it's a longhorn beetle.
And they'll fly into you. They're kind of a menace. And
that looks like a menace.
Yeah,
good lord.
One flew into my computer the monitor the other day. I'm just sitting at my computer doing some work, and I hear this smack, and there's this big black shape on my desk. I'm like, what the hell? And I look, and yeah, sure enough, it's a Palo Verde beetle. And then it starts like trying to fly back into my computer. So eventually, I caught it and tossed it outside. But like, I am not a huge fan of the return of the Palo Verde beetles.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, I don't think I'd be a fan of them either, now that I'm looking at it.
In isolation, looking at them, they're cool, but like, I don't need to encounter them in my personal space.
Body structures in the human body that were judged as vestiges, including the pituitary gland, which we now know is the master gland of the body, and the
I am not sure that I would call it that. It is important. But I feel like Charles Jackson is about to start telling us how to decalcify our pineal gland to open ourselves up to the vibrational frequencies of the 9th dimension.
Oh, I know what he's pulling this from another creationist who misinterpreted a book about vestigial organs. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. I was like, what the heck? It's gonna take me time to find it. But I know what he's. Yes, Wiedersheim is the structure of man. Yes, RJ and I talked about that in volume 1. The creationists basically take this book and they're like, oh, it says that all these organs are useless, and it's like, no, it didn't say that, but somebody was claiming that it did say that. Oh, who was that? Anyway, that's basically what this is about, is that book. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll find it.
Robert S. says, that large of horror and it flies. It absolutely does fly. They're not super nimble flyers, but they can reach pretty decent speeds.
Yes, here it is. I found it. Yeah, David Minton. It was Minton who did it.
Of course.
Because he said Menton tossed off. So he wrote in 1893, the German anatomist Robert Wiedersheim expanded Darwin's list of useless organs to 86. Listed among Wiedersheim's vestigial organs were such organs as the parathyroid, pineal, and pituitary glands, as well as the thymus, tonsils, adenoids, appendix, third molars, and valves and veins. All these organs have been subsequently shown to have useful functions, and indeed some of the functions essential for life.
None of which makes them not vestigial. Although I would
But
argue
also-
the pineal gland isn't vestigial.
Yeah, and then we went through talking about like how everything he said is nonsense. But yeah, that it's the book itself did not say that those things were useless. It didn't say that, but Menton was claiming that it did.
Caden Fox says, I have a Pendergast machine to stimulate my pineal. That sounds super dangerous, my friend. You should perhaps not do that. Pendergast may have been a genius, but he also died horribly, as did all of his staff, if you remember correctly. So, like, I don't know. He don't. Jackson, you know enough not to emulate the obvious genius, but also probably mad Dr. Pendergast, right?
Of course,
Do you-
always.
You know what we're talking about?
I mean, I think you should tell the audience just so that they can also follow along.
That's
You
a no. Jackson, go get yourself the complete works of H.P. Lovecraft. Read them.
I pretty much only read nonfiction.
And then don't talk about what the cat's name is.
Oh no, it's something racist, isn't it?
Well, let's just say this. It might be the kind of thing that Randy from South Park might get in trouble for.
Oh.
Yeah. You'll never guess what color the cat is.
Oh no. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I bet I can guess.
Probably can. Probably can.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Even for the time, his contemporaries were like, hey man, do you tone it down a little bit? He was like, no. And then he married a Jewish woman, and then he was like, all right, a little bit. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $4.99 says, I cast Wince. I have seen a baculum with a remodeled fracture. Oh, ouch.
That does sound awful.
Yeah. Oof. Pass. I don't even have one as a dinosaur, and I'm still like, don't like that.
Oh, can I read one more bit from Rocks, Volume
Yes.
1? So, things get worse for Menton, including the parathyroid gland, also part of the endocrine system that helps regulate the body's levels of calcium and phosphate, and adenoids operating as a component of the immune system. Because they tend to atrophy in adults, somebody may have considered adenoids to be vestigial, but it wasn't Wiedersheim who mentioned neither them nor the parathyroid in his book, nor put them on any of his lists. So
Nice.
yeah, Menton was just making crap up.
I am shocked that David Menton would have done such a thing. Look, I'm not a huge fan of Don't Speak Ill of the Dead. I'm a big fan of Don't Speak things that aren't true of the dead. And if you died after living a life of being basically a fraudster for Jesus, I don't feel like I need to pretend that wasn't what you were in life. Jessica the Transmetal Alchemist for $5 redo says, All hail Primus, the creator of the Transformers. AIG are the spawn of Unicron. May your T-Cogs be always fully optimized. Thank you very much. And I'll tell you, when I shed the weakness of my flesh, one of the first things to go will be the allergies. Right out of there. The machine does not need to worry about allergies, which is why I crave the certainty, strength of steel. Right, Jackson?
Exactly.
Jackson has no clue. He misses all the references.
I know it. I caught that one. Some of it.
What's it a reference
caught
to,
some of it.
Jackson? Come on, let's hear it.
Start again.
I said that I crave the certainty and strength of steel.
No, before that.
Well, I said that when I get rid of the weakness of my flesh, the first thing to go will be allergies, but that was less of a direct reference.
No, I'm talking about before that.
I do Lovecraft when we were talking about Lovecraft.
No, didn't you just read? You just read a comment.
Yeah, about Transformers.
Yeah, I got the Transformers bit.
Yeah, that's because she said Transformers in the the actual
I
trap.
know what Transformers are. I saw the movie with Shia LaBeouf.
You don't get credit for getting an illusion when the name of the property that it's an illusion to is in the illusion.
I'm living in a world full of illusions right now. I'll have you know.
Oh, illusions, huh? Osiris Baroque AIG for 200 Argentinian pesos, which means we only need 11 more super chats. And we have 10 minutes, so it's possible, but not likely. Says Lovecraft heard Write What You Know and wrote about being scared of being outside, melanin, other cultures, animals, things that don't exist, technology, your neighbors, and probably breathing. Yes, that's extremely accurate. All of that is very accurate. Yeah. But hey, unlike with say J.K. Rowling, if you buy his books, they don't currently go to support the wealth and well-being of a gigantic bigot. So I'm all in favor of, like, feel free to buy books by dead bigots. Just maybe not by live ones. Wait till they die.
System, an extremely important gland in the body. But you see, we couldn't figure out what it did in the 1930s.
Okay, yeah, that might be fair. I don't know when we figured out exactly what the pineal gland was doing.
And since we're so smart, if we can't figure out what it does, it must not do anything.
Nope.
This is just a creationist trope. This is not true. Nobody ever says this. Charles Jackson is funneling Minton here with all these things, but like none of what Minton said was true. And I'm pretty sure he knew that it wasn't true. We all know that, like, there are no papers in academia that say, well, I couldn't figure out what this thing is, so it doesn't do anything. Like, we know those don't exist.
Wait, Link to the Cat said Dapper went straight for the throat? Damn, wait, whose throat did I go for? Was it Rowling? Because I don't think it was Lovecraft. I don't think it's exactly controversial to say he was a gigantic bigot, but he's dead, so who cares?
So that's the arrogance of the...
Sharon for $2 says, nothing important to say, a drink to Ozzy. You know what, that's fair. I'll take a drink. Thank you very much. That was for $2. Yep. We lost a legend. If there's an afterlife, I hope he's playing music wherever that is.
The atheist evo-secular mindset, which says...
Okay, was Rowling? Yeah, no, I don't have a whole lot of tolerance for transphobes. Just get out. I don't want I don't want you around. I don't want you to exist if you're a transphobe. Doesn't mean I want you to die. I just want you to not be a transphobe.
If we can't figure it out, it must not be doing anything. Therefore, let's just say it's proof of evolution. These are leftovers from our evolutionary past, yes?
Obligatory science doesn't deal in proof, but also they are indeed evidence of evolution because, one, they do exist, and nothing that Charles Jackson has said here has in any way even come close to indicating otherwise. And also, we don't have an explanation for them otherwise, right? Like, why does an ostrich have all of the bones and muscles to make a wing, but it can't really use almost any of them? Why is that? If it's not because its ancestors used to be able to fly. Dana Moonblade for $5 says, off to work, have fun everyone, I'll order my copy of Lovecraft on break. Okay, look, I do want to say, yes, if you can't handle reading some pretty darn racist stuff, even for the early 20th century, it's not going to be a good time, and I don't recommend it. However, if you can read that and be okay with the fact that that is an aspect of what you're reading, there are some deeply creepy stories in there about things like, you know, the cosmic indifference of the universe and sci-fi concepts. He's the one who started a lot of different sci-fi concepts, or at least popularized a lot of them. So, like, there's a lot of good stuff in there, but you really do have to read through some pretty obnoxiously to those bits. So, like, I don't know. Read at your own risk, is I guess what I'm trying to say here.
What's the common name for this?
The coccyx? Oh, what you're holding in your hand? Oh, the coccyx, the tailbone. You're sitting on your tailbone now. And if it's not very valuable, how many of you ever bounced down the stairs on your tailbone? How many of you ever bounced out? Okay.
It is weird to me that something could be that he equates is very valuable with will hurt if injured, right? Like, I don't see how that works. For instance, you know what? Craig McNeil is a friend of the channel. We've collaborated before. He's in my Star Trek Adventures game on Fridays. And I don't think it's exactly a secret to know that he is planning to have one of his legs amputated. I would say it is pretty fair, and Jackson, let me know if you agree, that if you're planning to have one of your legs amputated, you do not value that leg. In fact, you would rather it be gone. Right? Jackson?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
I would say that it is probably fair to say that if Craig is planning to have one of his legs amputated, he does not value that leg. He has a negative value of that leg. He wants it gone, right?
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
Okay. You think if I hit it with a hammer, he would feel it as pain? Yeah, probably. So I don't get how this is supposed to follow, right? That if it hurts, therefore it's important or valuable. No, sometimes it's not important and not valuable specifically because it hurts, right? Like, most of you have probably either have or know someone who has had a joint replaced with a mechanical part, right? Like a knee replacement or a hip replacement or something like that, right? You know why? It's because it was hurting. Not because that knee was particularly important. It wasn't. You took it out. You replaced it with something better. This is just a bizarre argument.
If that's not useful, why did God put so many nerves in it?
Are you trying to make my argument for me there, Chuck? Yeah, that's a great question. I'll take a drink. Yeah, why would an omnipotent creator put so many nerves in something that doesn't need them and that is far less useful in humans than it is in other organisms? I don't know. I also bet that if I tore my auricular muscles, that would hurt too. What kind of argument is this?
Because, it really, really hurts. If you ever break that thing, it's extremely painful.
Ask Bent about that. Next time there's a Kent with Bent. He has a story about that. You know what the Navy told him to do after that happened?
Oh God, what?
Told him to walk it off. Gave him literally zero treatment. So, guess what didn't heal properly?
I'm gonna bet his tailbone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And guess what legal recourse he has for this malpractice?
Is it none?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Don't join the military, kids.
And why would evolution innervate it so much?
Because it was useful. And it still is, but also things that the genes that control innervation don't just shut off when something starts to shrink or go away.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't have a function, you see.
It does have a function, you see. And you already said that doesn't make it not vestigial there, Chuck. I hate this man so much. I didn't always. But imagine being this smug about pointing out that the coccyx has a function after already yourself declaring that doesn't actually make it not vestigial.
Yeah, it's a little silly.
Like, I don't know, man.
They got it coming both ways. The logic, the
That's what she said.
biology, the findings, and all these things, all those organs. Right now, there's no vestigial organ known in the body.
I mean, except for the ones that you named, most of which are in fact vestigial, and none of which are shown to be not vestigial by reason of having a function, which again, Charles Jackson said in the first place. And I kind of hate that we are now 11 and a half minutes into a talk about junk DNA, and you know what he hasn't mentioned once?
Junk DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them, we finally found out what the purpose was. They don't talk about it anymore.
What are you talking about?
That's simply not true. I mean, the appendix is an example in which we or the whole sequoappendicular complex, we've known for quite a long time that it, or predicted, I guess you might say, we predicted that it has some immune function because it is associated with immune system tissues. And so literally for decades, there's been the prediction that it functioned somehow in the immune system. And then when we figured out exactly what it does, because it involved kind of rethinking aspects of the body, like giving more credence to bacteria and archaeans playing a larger role in the body than we initially thought, then like, oh hey, it does have a function, but that doesn't mean that it's not vestigial, and that it doesn't have this function in other modern animals.
I also want to say thank you to Get Agrippa for an anonymous contribution to Vishanti's fundraiser. Thank you very much. It really does help. Vishanti is still doing some stuff for money, but it is not always enough. And this is definitely helping her stay secure in terms of housing and bill payment for a few months. So, and she also had some promising job prospects recently. Fingers crossed that some of that works out. So, but hey, you know what? Let's wrap this up. We didn't actually talk about junk DNA one time. It was just vestigial organs. But I have faith that in the next 10 or so minutes worth of this, that we'll get to just something to do with the topic. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it would indeed. So, Jackson, what do you have coming up on your channel that people should know about?
Well, theoretically, the next video to come out will be the cauliflower's tail. The next scripted video, I should say. It's probably not the next video that's going to come out. Because we're going to have Aaron on Thursday to talk about other modern forms of anti-science, not just creationism. Last week, if you haven't seen it, Dapper and I were on with Inspiring Philosophy to talk about the history of young Earth creationism, and that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Had a good time.
I also found out that he lives in the same city I do.
Yeah, that was funny.
Wasn't expecting.
But yeah, the cauliflower's tail, and then there's like, I think only 5 Ancestor's Tale videos after that. I'm sorry, this one is just really long, and I fell off writing it because it was taking so long, but I will get back to it probably tomorrow.
All right. You better get back to it. Otherwise, if I don't get that cauliflower's tail soon, I'll have to make sure you get cauliflower ears.
I mean, we're almost there. We're only like 6 episodes away from the end of the show. So, at the end of that series, I should say.
All right, we got a few things to read here. Steve G. Quinard, who's been a member for 17 months and is at the amniote level, says, why does the prostate have erogenous nerves, and why would God put it up there? Yeah, I actually don't know the answer to that on either, like, why creationists would, like, how they would account for it. I also actually don't know how that's accounted for with, like, actual science. I don't know why that's the case. I've never really looked into it. I imagine there might be some reason. I just don't know what they are. Jessica, the Transmetal Alchemist, who's been a member for 4 months, says all the love for Vishanti with 3 heart emojis. Thank you very much. It really does mean a lot to actually to me too, right? Not just to Vishanti, because he's a big part of all of this. And hey, there was another 20 gifted by or donated by Atomic Squirrel to the fundraiser. So thank you very much. We are at 87% of the way there. So that is a really big deal. I really do. All right, so what's coming up on this channel? Let's see. On Thursday, I have another video coming out, and that is going to be Creationists Can't Give a Reason to Believe in Adam and Eve, Hovind and Sanford Part 2, in which John Sanford is going to talk to us about why he thinks that Adam and Eve are real historical figures, and he is going to completely fail to actually give any compelling reasons, unsurprisingly, right? So that is Thursday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Then on Friday, I think I'm going to do another art stream. I'm honestly not positive. I might just take that time off, but we'll see what happens. You know what? If you want to see an art stream, please let me know. Send me messages or something, because I do want to do some art that day, and I'll do it on stream. But also, it does get a little bit. It's a little bit extra stressful when I'm doing it on stream because I have to keep talking through what I'm doing and paying attention to chat and whatnot. So, not that I don't like it, but like I don't want to do it if people don't want to watch it. So if you want to see it, let me know, right? Like reach out and say like, no, I would like to see more art stream. I might follow up with more from the same project from last week, although you don't get a preview now because we didn't get there. Which, by the way, Jackson, could you sing a little bit of "My Heart Will Go On," please?
You
got this?
Hold on.
Okay, I'm holding.
Hold on.
This is taking forever.
Hold on. We're almost there. Hold on.
Are you looking up the song?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what's happening. On Saturday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, I have the next Dapper Reacts. Vishanti won't be here because she is working Comic-Con. She's not attending. She is working Comic-Con.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, I know that there have been a few people who said that she's attending. That is not technically correct. She is working it. So she is going to be working a booth for, in fact, payment. So if you're at Comic-Con, you could go say hi to her. And also, Dan McClellan's going to be there if you want to say hi to him. Jackson, you find that song yet?
I did find it.
Okay, here we go. Let's go. Sing it.
All right.
Jackson, this is a disaster. This is even worse of a disaster than I expected.
Hold on, I'm trying right now.
Icarus. No. Jeez, Jackson, you can't do that. I had to mute you. I can't actually have that music on my channel. What are you doing? I had to immediately mute you. I cannot have that music just playing.
Dapper, I was attempting to sing just then. You're telling me I guess we can't sing it this time.
You can have it in your ears, but I can't have it on the channel. You can't broadcast that to me. Just sing the words, man. I
don't know the words.
Icarus, put some of them in chat. Near, far, wherever you... Have you not seen Titanic?
Like once.
Alright.
I don't remember most of it.
This is a disaster, Jackson. You are a disaster. Alright, well, then next Tuesday, it should be... Kent with Bent, next Tuesday, is the plan. You tried to get my entire stream demonetized, man.
My apologies. My bad.
Jeez. Next thing you know, you're gonna start playing just Queen openly on the channel.
I did my best.
I'm probably still gonna get a copyright claim from that.
No, just cut out that portion. I'm sorry.
I'll have to. My goodness. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out as Jackson tries to destroy my livelihood by just playing super copyrighted music.
No, I would. My bad.
Goodness. All right, everybody. If you are interested, we are doing some Power Rangers over on my Discord channel. Just in a few minutes, and we're going to be doing 5 episodes of Power Rangers Dino Fury at 1.25 speed. Because we did miss a day, and so we're doing a few days of 5 episodes at 1.25 just to catch back up, so that it doesn't become a lie when I said that we're doing Godzilla starting in September. So, if that interests you, hang out over there. If that doesn't interest you, then I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day, have a safe rest of the week, and I hope to see all of you on Thursday for the premiere. Icarus says, you don't get demonetized by 2 milliseconds of the song, do you? It's mostly chaos. And, like, I probably won't actually get demonetized for that, but, like, you never know. The copyright robots can sometimes be absolutely vicious. So, alright, bye, everybody.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Tovand, Tapioca Weasel, Arrow Dodger, Dan Sheedy, Elleron Teller, Phil Cavara, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostock Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabbity Babbity, Sphincter of Doom, Volis, Max Cherry, North Texas Fossils, and John Ackerman. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, There's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.